Lena loved her cat, Poppy, more than anything in the world. The slender, gray feline had been her companion through the trials of young adulthood, from moving into her first apartment to surviving her first job. Poppy, with her sleek fur and languid eyes, was the perfect confidant, silent, observant, and affectionate in her own feline way. When Lena adopted Poppy, she thought her life was complete. At least, until she developed another passion, plants. It started innocently enough, a small succulent gifted by a friend. It didn't require much care, just a little sunlight and occasional watering. But there was something about that succulent that captivated Lena. It was resilient, thriving even in the poor light of her apartment. She found joy in watching it grow, its tiny green leaves plump with life. Soon, one plant became 5, and 5 became a collection. Lena's apartment was quickly filled with all manner of greenery: ferns, pothos, spider plants, and a tall, spindly monstera that dominated the corner by the window. Of all her plants, however, it was the succulent that remained her favorite. It had grown considerably over the years, expanding its fleshy leaves and even sprouting long, tendril-like roots that reached down from its pot like tiny fingers. She named it Verde, which seemed fitting for its rich green color and the vibrant life it exuded. Verde, it turned out, was no ordinary plant. Deep in its roots and leaves, it harbored something that could only be described as sentience, an unsuspecting intellect that had been quietly observing Lena's world. Verde had watched Lena for years, slowly becoming more than just a plant. It became aware of Lena's affections, her daily routines, and, most of all, the strange, fur-covered creature that she adored. Poppy, the cat, who lounged in sunbeams and occupied Lena's lap during the evenings, was clearly the favorite companion in the household. Verde, of course, had no reason to envy the cat at first. It was a plant, after all, content in its small corner of the room. But as the months went by and Lena's affections seemed divided, Verde felt a growing sense of competition. Every time Lena stroked Poppy's fur, whispered endearing words, or let the cat curl up on her bed, something inside Verde stirred, a hunger for attention, a desire to be more than just a silent observer. At first, Verde tried subtle ways of getting Lena's attention. Its leaves would glisten in the sunlight, their greens so rich that it would catch Lena's eye. Sometimes it would sway slightly, as though moved by an invisible breeze, hoping Lena would notice. And she did, at least sometimes. She would water Verde, marvel at its beauty, even talk to it on occasion. But it was never the same as the way she talked to Poppy. Verde began to seethe with jealousy, its roots writhing in the soil with frustration. That infernal cat seemed to have an unbreakable hold on Lena's heart. But Verde was patient. It knew that it couldn't win Lena's affection through simple gestures. It would have to be clever, cunning even, to rid itself of the competition. The plan began to form slowly, as Verde observed Poppy's every movement, every quirk. Verde noted how Poppy was a creature of habit, how she always nibbled at the same patch of catnip Lena kept on the windowsill, how she loved exploring anything new in the apartment, especially if it was green and leafy. It started with ridicule. Verde couldn't speak, of course, but it had other ways to make its feelings known. One afternoon, while Lena was at work and Poppy was lounging near the plants, Verde extended a tiny root, just enough to tickle the cat's tail. Poppy sprang up, startled, her tail puffed out in alarm. She looked around, confused, but saw nothing unusual. Verde swayed innocently in its pot, as if nothing had happened. Poppy hissed, then slowly settled back down. But the seed had been planted. Poppy was uneasy now. Over the next few days, Verde escalated its campaign. It would rustle its leaves when Poppy walked by, causing the cat to jump and skitter away in confusion. It would cast its shadow ominously over the cat's favorite sunbeam, making Poppy feel as though she was being watched. Lena noticed her cat's odd behavior, but chalked it up to feline eccentricity, laughing it off as a phase. She didn't realize that Poppy's enemy was much closer than she thought. Verde's plan was evolving. It needed to do more than just scare Poppy. It needed to eliminate her completely. The plant was aware that Lena loved Poppy dearly and wouldn't part with her willingly. So, Verde devised a more insidious strategy. It would need to infiltrate the cat itself to take over from the inside. But how? Verde had noticed something peculiar about Poppy. The cat had a strange fascination with the taste of plants, often nibbling on the leaves of Lena's spider plant or the catnip. If Verde could exploit this weakness, it could trick Poppy into consuming part of itself. Verde's plan began to take shape. It would entice Poppy to nibble on its leaves, and once inside the cat's body, it would grow, taking root in Poppy's digestive system, slowly replacing the cat from within. The thought of it thrilled the plant, an unholy fusion of plant and animal, with Verde in control. One evening, after Lena had gone to bed, Verde began to exude a sweet, enticing aroma. It released subtle pheromones into the air, designed to mimic the scent of the catnip Poppy loved so much. Sure enough, Poppy, who had been curled up on the couch, stirred. Her nose twitched as the unfamiliar but alluring scent wafted through the room. She padded over to the corner where Verde stood, her curiosity piqued. Verde, ever so slowly, bent one of its fleshy leaves toward the cat, as if inviting her to take a bite. Poppy sniffed the leaf cautiously. It smelled delicious, like the finest catnip she had ever encountered. Unable to resist, she gave the leaf a tentative lick. The taste was sweet, almost intoxicating. She nibbled at it, her sharp teeth slicing through the succulent flesh of the plant. Verde shuddered with delight as Poppy consumed more and more of its leaf, swallowing the pieces whole. The moment the last bite was down, Verde began its transformation. Inside Poppy's stomach, the plant cells began to multiply, intertwining with the cat's tissues. Slowly, methodically, Verde spread its roots through Poppy's body, reaching into her bloodstream, her muscles, her brain. It was a strange, symbiotic takeover. Poppy was still alive, still moving, but Verde was in control now. The plan had succeeded. For the next few days, Lena didn't notice anything unusual. Poppy still acted like a cat, albeit a little more lethargic than usual. She still curled up on the couch, still meowed for food, though she seemed less interested in eating than before. But something was off. Lena could feel it, though she couldn't quite put her finger on what. It wasn't until Lena went to water her plants one afternoon that she realized something was terribly wrong. Verde was dead, or at least it appeared dead. Its leaves were withered and brown, its once vibrant green color completely drained. Lena was devastated. She had never lost a plant before, especially not one she had cared for so deeply. Tears welled in her eyes as she touched the brittle leaves, wondering what she had done wrong. Poppy, or rather the cat that was now part plant, watched from across the room. Inside the cat's body, Verde observed Lena's grief with a strange mixture of satisfaction and confusion. It had won, hadn't it? It had rid itself of the competition, taken control of the cat, and now it was living inside the very creature it had despised. But something was wrong. Lena wasn't supposed to mourn the plant. She was supposed to be relieved, to shower her affection on Poppy now that the plant was gone. Yet, here she was crying over a dead succulent. The realization hit Verde like a shockwave. Lena had loved the plant, truly loved it. Verde had been too blinded by jealousy to see it. All this time, it had thought that Poppy was the true rival. But in reality, there had been room in Lena's heart for both the cat and the plant. Verde had miscalculated, and now it was too late. But there was another problem. Poppy, now host of the plant, had stopped eating. The cat's body was weakening, unable to sustain both itself and the rapidly growing plant inside it. Verde hadn't accounted for this. It hadn't considered that the cat's body might reject the fusion, that Poppy would instinctively refuse food as the plant took over more and more of her system. Lena, too, noticed Poppy's decline. The cat was losing weight, becoming more and more listless. No matter what food Lena offered, Poppy turned away, her once vibrant eyes now dull and tired. Lena, already distraught over the loss of her beloved plant, now found herself faced with the impending death of her cherished cat. One night, as Lena sat by Poppy's side, stroking her thinning fur, Verde felt a pang of guilt. It had wanted Lena's affection so badly that it had destroyed the very thing she loved most. The plant, now fully entwined in Poppy's body, realized the depth of its mistake. It had won the battle, but in doing so, it had lost everything that mattered. In the early hours of the morning, Poppy's breathing grew shallow. Lena stayed with her, whispering soothing words, tears streaming down her face. Verde, trapped inside the dying cat, could feel the life draining from both of them. It had wanted to be close to Lena, but now it would die in the body of her most beloved companion, its plan having failed miserably. As the first light of dawn filtered through the window, Poppy took her last breath. Lena held her lifeless body close, sobbing quietly into her fur. Verde, too, withered away inside the cat, its roots curling in on themselves, its leaves shriveling to dust. In the end, both plant and cat perished, victims of a misguided attempt to claim the affection of the one they loved. And Lena, alone in her apartment, mourned the loss of both her beloved pet and her cherished plant, never knowing the dark and twisted battle that had raged between them.